Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from Heavenly Poseidon. My nympho fiancé has been jumping from bed to bed, AITA for breaking up. I'm 28M and she is 29F. That went on for like 2 months. Only thing I said was for her to text me like one every other hour because she had just gotten her driving's license. Context. We were together for 8 years and have known each other our whole life. I proposed to her last summer and we planned a wedding for this winter. After I proposed, she started to change. She's been very laid back after she took her degree, not going out much, spending time with me, and that kind of stuff. After a month or two, she started hanging out with a new girlfriend and started going out a lot more with that. I mean, like every day to every other day, which I was fine with. Her parents were strict, so I kind of got that she wanted to live a little after uni. She would go off grid for like 4 to 5 hours, and we talked about it, and she said that she would be more careful in the future. Worked for like a week. I started getting messages from friends saying they've seen her with 2 guys, which I confronted her about, and she played it off saying she doesn't think she talked to 2 guys. We had a huge fight a few days after that, and I was considering breaking everything off, but I didn't. Things went more downhill from there when her girlfriend broke up with her BF. She started ignoring me going out, not texting, nothing, until I had it one night and asked to talk. She talked to me for like 10 minutes and said she was going to go on a walk, and I asked to talk after she got home. Show came home like 3h later and said she had a headache and didn't feel well. All through this time was a constant that she was feeling like. I just lost it waiting for her for 3h, just for her to blow me off, and said if we don't talk today, I'm done with it, and that she has been acting like she wasn't in a relationship with me for the past few months. She said that she would call the day after, and I said that there was no need. Edit 1. We live miles apart from each other. Every other message thing was because she had just gotten her license, and the area she lives in has a lot of car accidents and reckless driving. You can't really get anywhere without a car where she lives, so driving a lot comes with it. Reason I isolated myself was due to problem I kept having when I was going out, because she would get jealous, and that lead to fights. I just rather give up going out than having to strain the relationship we had. Edit 2. We were together for 7 years, and I purposed last year due to us both wanting to complete our degree. I did so 1 year later due to being younger. Part 2. So the last post was everything up until before this summer. I was fairly isolated after the breakup. We had contact like 2 times. Last time was when she wanted to give me back the ring I proposed with. I didn't want it, and after that, she blocked me on socials after she told me to block her, and I refused. Seemed childish to me at the time. I got a new job shortly after we broke up and focused only on that, and just trying to make me feel better. In about 4 months, I lost 25 kilograms while going to the gym and running while eating really healthy. My getaway was working out because I didn't have to think about everything. A friend told me she had put up a pic on Insta with another guy just after 2 weeks after our breakup. Heard about this like 2 months after. I ignored it, just trying to work through my own shit, TBH. So, in the summer, I went on vacation to my summer home. She's also from the same place as me, so chances are I would run into her. But I did not really care at that point. 4 months had passed, and I just wanted to meet some old friends and have a good time after all the shit that I went through. Was there for 4 weeks. After the second week, I met her in passing. I pretended that I didn't even see her and went about my day. About 3 weeks in, my mom told me to drop something off at one of her friends. I met the girl that was hanging out with my ex, and we started talking. She told me that she had gotten together with her BF, and asked if I wanted to grab a coffee with them. I wasn't sure, but I agreed. A few days later, we made plans and met up. I've spent time with them last summer. I thought they were really nice people. After a while, the theme about my ex came up, and I couldn't believe what I heard. Apparently, she had been going out with the guy for like 6 months while we were engaged and was hiding it. The guy works at the same company as her. Found out a bunch of lies that she told me, like that she was hanging out with her friend, but in truth, she was with him in his house, and some more crazy things that just made me feel disgusted. I'll spare you the details. At that point, I was just broken and couldn't imagine that the person I had loved was the same person that we were talking about. Found out that before me, she had switched BF with another friend when she was younger, because they thought that it would be fun. Just some. Off the small things I found out, but hey, life goes on, and I was getting better slowly. I made the most off my trip, and spent it by the sea, and meeting up with friends that I had neglected over the years due to our relationship. I get back home after the best vacation I've had in years. About 2 weeks after I came home, she unblocked me and wrote that I was a horrible person and that I was spreading lies about her and how everything after the breakup was my fault. She asked what I've told my parents, due to our families being close, I'm guessing, and a lot more off insults, and to never mention her name ever again. I was dumbfounded and showed the MSG to my sister when she asked me why I was so pale. I sat there for a while considering to write something back and asked my sister for advice, and she said just to block her and move on with my life, and so I did. A while has passed now, and I feel better than ever with both work and my health. After all that I was the bad guy, and if that is so I will be. I'm just going to live my life and be happy to be healthy.
OP is not an AH for breaking up with his unfaithful fiancé, who keeps switching boyfriends. OP took a very good decision for his well-being. Here, OP's fiancé is an AH, a big AH, from jumping from one bed to another. She is simply nympho, so I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets nothing. Now let's jump onto the next story from Jacaranda Bloom 2398. AITA for preventing my brother from seeing his biological daughter.
I, 32F, and my wife of 4 years, let's call her Becca, 28F, have a beautiful daughter who we'll call Toby, 3F. We had both always wanted a child, but as two women, making a baby isn't a walk in the park. Maybe for the better, if we could get each other pregnant, we'd probably have 10 kids by now. But anyway, once we got married, we began weighing our options. Becca wanted to be pregnant and give birth, so adoption was off the table. I have 2 younger brothers, so we decided to ask them to donate sperm, so the baby would be partially related to both of us, and we wouldn't have to put our trust in some random sperm donor. My middle brother stated he was uncomfortable with the idea. I come from a moderately conservative Argentinian family, and he definitely leans more conservative than me and my youngest brother. But my youngest brother, we'll call him Chris, 25M, agreed to help us on our mission. We considered IVF, but wanted to avoid spending all that money, so we decided to just buy an at-home insemination kit and do it the natural way, so to speak. Becca and I stayed with Chris and his GF for a week, and basically handed a jar for him to do his business in, which we would then obviously use for procreation purposes. It was extremely awkward, but we decided it was the best option, and it was successful because a few weeks later, we found Becca to be pregnant. We were overjoyed to be having a baby, it being mine, and particularly Becca's dream since we were teenagers. Since we decided to get pregnant right after Becca finished grad school, and because I am lucky enough to have a job that can comfortably support all 3 of us, we decided Becca would stay home with the baby and would start work when the baby was school age, which she was very excited for. In the fall of 2021, Becca gave birth to our healthy baby girl, and we are both recognized as her legal guardians through AITA. Although being parents was definitely more difficult than we expected, we were very lucky to have Becca be able to stay home and to have a lot of support from her family. My brother and his long-term girlfriend were also very helpful. We live close by, so we would often meet up with Chris and his GF, who we'll call Vanessa, or one or both of them would watch Toby so we could get done. They had not previously expressed interest in having kids, but we could tell they really liked Toby, which we thought was really sweet. Well, recently we had a little turn of events. Becca has been thinking about starting work soon as an OT, and we have been talking about moving to the city of our dreams in Mexico. Becca and I live in and are from the US. We decided if she can get a job and a work visa, we will move to Mexico because I work from home and we thought it would good for Toby to start school in Mexico so she can be bilingual. Also, the city, which I will not name for privacy reasons, has been our dream for years since we visited when we were dating. We brought this up with Chris and Vanessa recently, and Becca and I assumed they would be happy for us, but instead they looked concerned and almost angry. After several empty excuses, Chris finally admitted that he feels very connected to Toby, because technically she is his biological daughter. He expressed that he feels more like a father to her than an uncle, and would be devastated if we were to move her away from him. At first, we were pissed at him for using this kind of language about our daughter, because it had always been established that Toby was our daughter, and Chris was just our sperm donor. But Becca and I have talked about this more and more, and are wondering if it will be traumatic for Toby to separate her from her biological parent, who she has had a relationship with since she was born. Toby does love her Uncle Chris and Aunt Vanessa, but she understands that me and Becca are her real parents, and has not really expressed that she misses Uncle Chris when she does not see him for a while. Me and Chris have not really talked things out. We are not that kind of family. But we do not need his blessing to move. I don't really have a great relationship with my other family, because they don't support me marrying and having a child with another woman. Obviously, I would hate it if this would seriously damage me and Chris's relationship, because he is basically the only family I have left. But Becca comes first, and I don't want to let Chris control our lives. I also don't want to damage my daughter's primal wound, but I also want our family to belong to us in a sense and not have to be tied to my brother or anyone else. So, AITA?
OP is not an AH here because legally OP and her partner are parents to child, and they have every right to take their daughter wherever they want. OP's brother is being an AH for backing off from the agreement. So, I would rate OP's brother 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump onto the next story from no_pi 3661. AITA for wanting to tell my friend he might have been cheated on. A friend of mine, let's call him Jack, 29M, has been with his girlfriend, Sharon, 29F, for around 5 years. At the start of their relationship, Sharon cheated on Jack and came clean. They broke up, but after a few months they patched things up. And as I understand it, they worked hard on rebuilding trust and actually had a good relationship for a while. In the last few years, though, things seemed to get a little rocky again. About a year ago, they tried to have an open relationship. This experiment only lasted a couple of months, though, as they both experienced a lot of anxiety. To my understanding, the most that ever happened was Sharon kissing a guy during a trip and then keeping in contact with him, which broke the rules of their agreement. So, they closed their relationship again. Now this gets a little cloudy for me. When Jack first told me about their open relationship, he seemed to be under the impression that Sharon wanted to only experiment with other women. This was important to Jack because he felt insecure about her being with other men. I know there's stuff to unpack here, but I'm going one problem at a time. In the end, it turned out that this wasn't a super hard rule, and it was more like Sharon was most interested in women, but she was allowed to hook up with whoever she wanted. Although I'm worried that this was kind of a manipulation because Jack really believed she could only be with women. After that, the relationship seemed very fragile. They fought a lot, and the fights kept getting worse and worse. Many friends, myself included, started to feel like things were particularly bad for Jack, although to be fair, I only ever got his side of the story. Regardless, I voiced my concerns to Jack, as did many others, often urging him to end the relationship. Jack has been getting more and more defensive about it. He often stated that he doesn't need us to tell him what to do, he only wants to be listened to. But for a few of us, it's very hard to listen to the increasingly stressful situations that they are going through. This has led to Jack putting some distance with a lot of us. He doesn't really tell me much about his relationship anymore, but I often hear from other people that things aren't getting better. Here's where it starts to get really messy. I have 2 other friends, who are a couple. Let's call them Ryan and Liz. They were very close friends with Jack and Sharon, although Ryan was closer to Jack, and Liz was closer to Sharon. At some point, Ryan voiced his concerns to Jack about the relationship being very unhealthy, and for a while there, Jack just stopped talking to the both of them. After a few weeks, though, they kind of patched things up, under the condition that Ryan would keep his thoughts about Jack's relationship to himself. After this, Ryan came to me and asked me for advice. It turns out that during that trip, Sharon had done much more than kiss a guy. She had sex with him. Months after that, she confessed this to Liz and also said that she would never tell Jack. Liz told Ryan, who didn't know whether or not to tell Jack. So, he told me, asking for advice. I urged Ryan to tell Jack, but Ryan was concerned about the following. It's not clear to anyone if this is actually cheating, because it might have been within their weird open relationship agreement. It's also not clear to us if they agreed to disclose to each other when they fooled around with others. Ryan believes that Jack either won't consider this to be cheating or will forgive Sharon, and it'll only add more tension to an already unhealthy relationship. Ryan is also worried that Jack just won't believe him and accuse him of lying to meddle with his relationship again. He is worried Jack will cut all ties with him for it. Long story short, Ryan and Liz have decided not to tell Jack. The thing is, I feel like I've been put in a weird situation because I think Jack absolutely needs to know. I feel very uncomfortable knowing something that he might consider a huge breach of trust. Furthermore, whether or not this is considered cheating, I believe that it's very dangerous to have with someone who isn't being fully transparent about their sexual activities. This might have an impact on what kind of precautions Jack takes, and I think his health, and the health of others, might be at risk. I have discussed this, and fought honestly, with Ryan and Liz, but they are unrelenting. They say that they understand my position, but they don't him and does not think that telling Jack will bring anything good. They also point out that if I tell him, I will ruin their relationship with him. They are asking me to respect their decision, and have told me that they don't know if they can continue to be my friends if I can respect their decision. This is the only time I have ever been at odds with them like this, and I highly value my relationship with them, and I feel like it would be a shame to lose them. But I still think Jack deserves to know. So, would I be the asshole if I told my friend that he might have been cheated on, and possibly ruining a bunch of friendships in the process? A 29-year-old man named Jack has been in a long-term, tumultuous relationship with his girlfriend, Sharon. Early in their relationship, Sharon cheated on Jack, but they eventually reconciled and worked on rebuilding trust. Over the years, their relationship became increasingly fragile, especially after they briefly experimented with an open relationship. Sharon's behavior during this time, particularly kissing a man and keeping in contact with him, broke the trust they had established. However, things became more complicated when it was revealed that Sharon had sex with a man during that trip, which she later confessed to her friend Liz, but vowed never to tell Jack. Jack's friends, including the poster, who is close to Jack, have expressed concern about the unhealthy nature of Jack and Sharon's relationship. Jack, however, has distanced himself from those who've criticized his relationship, preferring to be listened to rather than given advice. Ryan, another friend, learned of Sharon's affair from Liz and is now unsure whether to tell Jack, seeking advice from the poster. OP is not an AH for wanting to tell his friend about his girlfriend's cheating. Cheating is the ultimate deal breaker in a relationship, so if his friend's girlfriend has cheated on his friend, and OP knows about it, he must tell him about it for the welfare of his friend. There is nothing wrong with it. So, OP gets a 0 on the AH scale. OP's friend's GF is an AH for cheating on her boyfriend, so I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from recent_way, 9799 by AITA, for yelling at my husband during my 5-year-old's medical emergency. I, 33F, went to school to be a nurse a long time ago and didn't follow that path. Last year, my son George, 5M, had sudden onset croup that was an atypical presentation. He would have his oxygen stats drop and have strained breathing with retractions when he would fall asleep. He would also only cough laying down and didn't have the right breath sounds that indicate he had croup. We went to the emergency room 2 nights in a row the first time he didn't fall asleep, so they just discharged him and said he was fine. After he didn't sleep all day because he was being woken up because he was struggling to breath. The next night, he went into severe respiratory distress. Mike wanted to wait in the shower with George and calm him down before we got into the car to go, and wouldn't listen to me when I told him we needed to go ASAP because it was that bad. He was gasping and squeaking and was trying to take breaths one right after another. You could hear his breaths becoming more and more constricted. His retractions were very prominent, and his oxygen was dropping to the 80s. We got into a fight as I left because he wasn't helping get us out and was making me seem crazy for being scared and trying to run us out the door to the emergency room. It's 5 minutes down the road. When we got there, my son got the STAR treatment at the emergency room. He later, when he could breathe, told me that he thought he was dying. It was bad enough we had everyone check in on him that had been on department check on him
because of the state he came in. I know he is my kid, but I had never been more scared for him. That time, Mike said he was sorry later, and he had handled it poorly. So, to tonight, Mike just got home from working 12 HRs and we had dinner. He was watching my youngest Carl, 4M, as I put George to sleep for the night in the top bunk. I then brought Carl into his bed in the bottom bunk. Mike went to bed in our bed. He has a habit of taking NyQuil to help him sleep. He didn't tell me he was taking it tonight. It had been less than an hour since George had fallen asleep. He wasn't coughing at all until he went to sleep. I started hearing a quick change George's cough. It was changing so fast it sounded like anaphylaxis, to tell you the truth. He went from freely breathing to restrict in less than an hour. I check on him and see the retractions. I run down the hall while trying to calm Carl and George to get Mike's help. When I come into the room, I yell, "We are having an emergency." George is in respiratory distress again. He goes in the room with the kids and stands at the edge of the bed, trying to talk to George. After listening to him talk to George, and see that he is more focused on trying to calm him down than on helping me get him to the car, I realized, I don't know. Remember if I said he is actually having trouble breathing? So I say, again, he is in respiratory distress. He can't calm down, we need to go. I need your help getting him down and us out of the house. He gets snipping at me for rushing him and bring him into the master bedroom, and then again sit down on the bed next to him, trying to get him to calm down when I am running around, trying to get me and George dressed. I tell Mike multiple times we need to leave, and he needs to move the truck. He gets mad at me for rushing him. He said, we can wait until he calms down before we leave. At this time, he couldn't hardly say a word, and was gasping and retracting, and the squeaking started to sound like a dog toy. I yell again, it's a emergency, we need to go. He won't calm down until he can breathe. Mike cusses at me and calls me crazy, tells me that I am the problem and why George is breathing and acting the way he was. I was making him freak out. Mike gets out the door before me and to the car when Mike lifts George in and tells me I need to leave. Then said he will take George. I insist on taking him and get in the car and start it when Mike keeps yelling at me to leave. I couldn't because Mike didn't move his truck and didn't grab his keys. He gets pissed at me saying, I can't, till he moves the truck and he blamed me for him not getting his keys. As I drive to the hospital, I was able to keep George squeaking out sounds for me. It was all he could get out, and then it got too quiet, and he quit answering. It sounded like clicking in the back. My husband did end up calling ahead, and the emergency department was on standby. They got him in and fixed him up really fast, and everything ended well for him. Again, he said he thought he was dying, and asked me why this keeps happening to him, and he's scared that it's going to happen again. We are going to insist on a specialist. I tried to talk to my husband about it when George was fine at the hospital, because I was really upset with the way he acted, and his lack of urgency during an emergency, and him being mean to me while our child was in distress. He said, I was doing everything you asked of me. You screaming at me wasn't helping at all. It was making him hyperventilate and confusing me in turn, making it take longer. Yes, I am sorry. We were both scared, panicking, and no, I didn't handle it well. I just got woken up from a dead sleep while on NyQuil and was expected to be in a 100% sprint and not trying to soothe. Sorry I didn't handle it well. Neither did you. Like I said, I'm glad he's there. Please keep me posted. AITA? OP is not an AH, but her reaction was a little bit too harsh. Her husband's aggressive behavior was due to his health condition. It was not on purpose, so I cannot blame him too. I would just advise both OP and her husband to proceed with patience. Now let's jump on to the last story from Sad Little Mochi. AITA for not wanting my guy friend to bring his fiancée to our first meetup in years. I'm a 23F and have a school friend 24M who I've known for more than 10 plus years. Let's call him Celebrity. This post is quite long as the situation requires an understanding of the context, so please bear with me. So, Celebrity and I only really knew each other personally at the start of high school, because our friend groups merged and we started hanging out in this mixed guy and girls group. At the end of high school, however, Celebrity and I became best friends. At the time, we were both in relationships with our other high school friends, and we became close friends because we often confided in each other about our relationships. We also share similar interests in sports, spend a lot of time together because of group hangouts, class projects, and even shared our family troubles with each other. At one point, Celebrity and I broke up with our partners, because of typical high school couple fights, and we developed feelings for each other, but it was kind of weird because it wasn't in a sexual way. We never felt like we wanted to engage with each other physically, and the feelings quickly died down because didn't see each other as a potential BF/GF. I do think it was because we were young, hormonal teenagers who were very confused with our situations, and because we were very close, we mistook those platonic affections for each other for actual feelings. I never even hugged Celebrity, or held his hand, or felt like I wanted to. He confessed to me, I confessed back. We both thought it was funny, and moved on. Anyways, not long after, we got back together with our high school partners, and we remained as best friends even as we got into college. We all went to different countries for college, and because of LDR, we broke up with our partners, this time, for good. In college, we made new friends, and eventually got close to someone new. Celebrity met a beautiful girl, let's call her Tina, and I met a wonderful guy who is now my current boyfriend. By the way, that time, we had no concept of girl best friend, and the stigmas around it. We believed that guys and girls can be platonic friends, and it wasn't until recently from TikTok that I realized that people disliked the idea of having girl best friends because of jealousy, people having no boundaries, acting shamelessly, etc. I didn't know some girl best friends acted that way and was horrified, because when he got close to a new girl, I was super happy for him and would never think of her as competition or whatever. Why would I take away someone from my best friend if I know she makes him happy and is good for him? From what I heard from Celebrity, Tina is very caring, supportive, and kind, and I was happy that he finally found someone who could uplift him and love him for who he truly is. His ex had some issues and put him down a lot. When we both returned to our home countries for summer break, Celebrity introduced me to Tina, and we got along well, and I was glad to finally meet the love of his life. I would also like to note that as we both got close to our new partners, our relationship eventually became more distant, and we texted less and less. 4 years passed, and I would say that by now, he is no longer my best friend, more like an old school best friend or childhood friend, ex-guy best friend. It's understandable that we grew distant because we studied in different countries, time difference, couldn't travel because of COVID to meet up, and also respected our partners by not being too close with each other. I guess it's natural for people to drift apart when you get into relationships and grow up. Many of our high school friends no longer keep in touch. Last year, Celebrity got engaged to Tina, so I'm very happy to hear that they worked out so well. Recently, Celebrity and I happened to be returning to our home country at the same time, and I wanted to take this rare opportunity to meet him after 4 years. I missed our friendship and seeing him, and wanted to catch up. There were so many things I wanted to talk to him about, like his proposal and engagement, our careers, relationship, life troubles, our friends, even high schooler gossip. I was really excited to meet him, and he was up for it too. BTW, my current boyfriend is fine with me being friends with Celebrity, and has no jealousy issues with us meeting. He knows that I see Celebrity as an old high schooler friend and our history together. However, a day before our meetup, Celebrity suddenly said that Tina was coming. I felt like my mood was immediately dampened and I felt disappointed. I never encountered a situation like this before. It changes the dynamic when you bring a partner into a meetup between old friends. If he's introducing Tina to me for the first time, I can understand that. But I've met her before, and this is meant to be a catch-up between me and him. I'd feel somewhat like a third wheel if he came with Tina, and the original arrangement wasn't supposed to be the three of us. There's also a certain level of censorship with Tina in the hangout, because although I was close friends with Celebrity, Tina is technically a stranger to me. I can't be completely open about the things I really want to talk to him about, and feel uncomfortable sharing certain aspects of my life with her, because we never had that trust or bond. Things like aspirations, mental health problems, work drama, friends. If I want to talk about high school memories, there will be many things she won't understand because she didn't go to the same school, so in order not to be rude and leave her out, I can't talk about school memories or reminisce as much. If Celebrity asked for a meetup with me to catch up after not seeing each other for 4 years, I wouldn't bring my boyfriend along, because in my mind, Celebrity wants to meet me and talk to me, not my boyfriend. I was a little annoyed because when I first asked him about meeting up, Celebrity agreed and didn't bring up bringing Tina until the last minute. So, it got me thinking, did Celebrity really wanted to bring Tina all along, or was Tina the one who asked to come along at the last minute? I have nothing against Tina, and she is a wonderful person, but it's not her that I want to meet, and I can't have a genuine catch-up with her there. At the same time, it's not like I can say, no, don't bring her, because that's weird, and I would come off as exclusive. I just said, oh yeah, sure, and that's that. But I was internally thinking about how awkward it'll be. I personally think that maybe Tina was the one who hinted/asked to join, because she isn't comfortable with me. Or more like, the idea of an ex-girl best friend meeting her fiancé because of all the online stigma about it. I have no idea if Celebrity has ever told her that we once briefly had feelings for each other when we were teenagers, and maybe she took it more seriously than we thought. I understand that maybe, unlike my boyfriend, she just doesn't like the idea of her fiancé meeting someone of the opposite gender, and decided to come upon finding out. I was also wondering, even if she was worried, why? They are engaged anyway, and there is nothing more secure than that. Plus, she knows I have a boyfriend.
Now I kind of feel like the a-hole for suggesting him to meet it and coming off as that stereotypical girl best friend. I'm overthinking the fact that maybe it wasn't great of me to ask someone engaged to meet up, but I genuinely just wanted to catch up with an old best friend after 4 years. I do this to my other female friends too, but perhaps there is a barrier here that I didn't realize sooner? Am I missing something, like a hidden social rule? Anyway, I didn't want to be a third wheel or make things awkward, so I ended up inviting my other friends, and it became a group hangout. From that time on, it struck me that I will never be able to meet Celebrity ever again. So, yeah, that's my rant. I have been feeling very confused about this. I did tell my boyfriend, and he also thought it was weird of Tina and Celebrity to do that. What do you guys think? Am I the jerk here for asking him to meet up in the first place? Has anyone encountered a situation like this before? OP is not an AH because it was OP's friend who made the situation awkward by inviting his fiancé to the meetup. Now OP feels uncomfortable because of the friend's fiancé's presence. The friend is a bit of an AH for inviting the fiancé last minute, and OP had to invite other friends to alleviate the awkwardness. I would rate OP's friend 1.5 out of 5 on the AH scale and OP 0. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.